am a bad man.
That's a bad man.
He is a bad, bad man.
You're a bad man. You're a very bad man.
But in the end, you have saved face because you have recognized officially who the baddest man happens to be. Now you go ahead and use
Can I get an amen?
All right, welcome to the Bad Man Podcast. This is our third edition. I'm Mark, and we have Anthony with us.
How's it going, everyone?
All right, so first thing we're going to talk about tonight, there's been a lot of talk about a 4-point line. I don't know if this is, if there's any substance to this, but apparently people are thinking about adding a line that's 28 feet out, the regular three-pointers at 22, that would count as 4, and there's been a lot of discussion whether this would make the game more interesting or not. So what's your take, Anthony?
It wouldn't make it interesting, but comebacks would be a lot more, I'd say, easier, for lack of a better word. You just see people gunning from 28 feet deep.
Yeah.
I think it hurt the brand overall.
It would make today's brand of basketball really messy because people aren't used to shooting those. Kids don't go out in their backyard and practice shooting 28-footers if they're trying to make the pros.
Pretty sure J.R. Smith does, and
J.R. Smith does. Yeah, okay. J.R. Smith does. He'll shoot from anywhere, but it would really hurt today's generation. And what they're trying to do with this talk is open the floor up a little bit more. So if that's what the issue is, maybe widen the courts, because adding a 4-point line, they're trying to give these players more space. I mean, who knows if this might just be these whispers in the back, but if there's any substance to this kind of stuff, that's what the purpose is, and I think that it would. I mean, mid-range game is already becoming something of a lost art. Although you see teams like Portland who really emphasize it, and it's not stats have taken over so much lately. But
it's all about the 3-point shot nowadays.
It's all about the 3-point shot, but that mid-range game still opens up a lot of opportunities for other guys.
Coaches are anti-mid-range. I remember seeing they rank it as 3-point free throws, layup dunks, and then you have mid-range at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I just feel like you have to be able to score at any point on the court. So, and if you were to add a 4-point line, that mid-range shot would never be taken. I mean, because then that would really be useless almost if you can get double the points shooting from this ridiculous range.
I mean, ESPN, they even had the statistics of people shooting from that far, and there was 1 or 2 people who shot a decent percentage. J.R. Smith was 0 for 10. You
know who one of those people were?
I want to say Lillard. Yeah, this J.R. Smith is 0 for 10.
Number 1 on that list, Jamal Crawford. So yeah.
Crawford?
So maybe we do add the 4-point line.
So you can have 5-point plays now.
maybe get the Clippers a few championships. Yeah, I might be okay with this.
You want to retract what you said?
Yeah, no. I think it's a bad idea. Maybe try in the D League. I think that they should experiment in the D League. Nobody watches it anyway. Give them a reason.
The Rockets already experiment on the D League. They take so many 3-pointers.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that's.
They'd be the first ones to try the 4-point shot
too. Yeah. But so bad idea, you think?
I think it's a bad idea.
All right, I think it's a bad idea too. It's just gonna be chucking from all over the place. All right, so this next bit we're gonna be talking about the upcoming draft a little bit, and specifically the top 3 prospects and where we think they would best fit. So we've got 3 big guys who, in most any other year, would go number 1. So that's Joel Embiid, who's probably going to go with the first pick. who came in as kind of a relative unknown. He's only played basketball a few years, but he's killed it. Then we have Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins, who were both terrific. Came out of high school heavily hyped, so and maybe haven't quite lived up to that much. You saw magazine covers listing Jabari Parker as the best high school player since LeBron James. That's a lot of hype to have to carry with you. And I mean, they're both great, but Joel Embiid has really stood out. So, and they all have weaknesses. They're not superhumans like Kevin Durant or Michael Beasley even were in college. So, where do you think these guys would best fit in the NBA? What rosters would be most conducive to their success?
I mean, based off the current standings, you have to go and beat to the Bucks.
You think Embiid to the Bucks too? Okay, I convinced you. All right, okay.
I actually have two teams. The thing is, the Lakers would make more sense to me, but I don't think they have a chance based off their record right now.
Well, the record. I mean, I think
they'd have to tank a little harder to try to get more balls.
I think they're going in that direction, though. I think they're in the running for the worst record in the West. So I don't that. Seems like it's a possibility. I hope it's not, because I hate the Lakers, but personal.
Because my thing with the Bucks is you already have Sanders, Henson, and Antetokounmpo. You have a tall front court, tall young front court.
Right.
Do you want to get Embiid when your backcourt is lackluster?
But then Embiid is a standout prospect, probably the best since Anthony Davis. I think that if you get the first pick, you take Embiid, regardless of what team you have. You take Embiid. You don't pass up a potential Hall of Fame center.
Wow! You're calling him a Hall of Fame center now?
I'm saying potentially. I mean, first round. This was one of the most hyped drafts in history, in NBA history, and he's basically the unanimous number one pick at this point. So, I think the potential is definitely there, and I wouldn't pass that up for Larry Sanders. He could play the 4 spot for sure, and he still has a lot of trade value. I think you trade one of Larry Sanders or John Henson, and the other would mesh with Embiid pretty well. Embiid's a good passer, and he's very fluid with the ball. So you pair those guys up, then that gives you a nice trade chip, so you can ship him off. Giannis Antetokounmpo, not even going to try to say his last name.
I don't know if it's right. I think I got it.
I mean, that's probably the top young front court in the league. Would you agree?
Based off potential, yeah.
Based off potential, yeah, maybe in 3 years, that could be dangerous. Although at this point, they're not going to be able to space the floor. So,
Knight and Mayo as your backcourt. Oy.
Yeah, Knight and Mayo as your backcourt. Mayo, his rookie year, I thought he was going to be a stud. I thought he was going to be a top player I thought he was going to be a top tier player within 3 or 4 years. And he just never really got better.
Stud.
Yeah. So what happened?
I don't know. I want to blame Hollins, but he was under Hollins the first couple of years.
Yeah, well, his rookie
everything went wrong when he got into the fight with Tony Allen. I think it was Tony Allen. And then he got busted with the steroid.
He got busted with the steroid. Oh yeah.
He got suspended for 10 games for some banned substance.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remember his rookie year, he scored 20. And I mean, he could have made an argument for him to have been Rookie of the Year over Derrick Rose. I wouldn't have made that argument, but he looked like a serious player. Derrick Rose won the MVP eventually, so at one point they were basically knotted up. And then the next year, numbers stay similar. His efficiency goes up, and then it's been like a downward spiral since then.
Yep.
And he's how old is this guy? Like 27, 26?
Yeah, because he came into the league like old, even though he came out his freshman year. But
Yeah. He was. I think he was 20 coming out or something like that. But he was a monster at USC. And it's just like people have just kind of written him off, rightfully so.
I wrote him off.
Yeah, I mean he could be good on a team like the Spurs, I think. But
he wasn't bad with Dallas last year for the first half of the season.
He wasn't. He was great with that. It's just like
then Dirk came back and it just went down the drain for him.
And you see him on Milwaukee, little pudgy. I mean, not to say. I mean, these are NBA level athletes, so comparing normal people to these guys is not gonna work. I mean, he's still ripped, but
he sat down for a long stretch. They said it was an illness, but just like a month.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like he's kind of lost motivation there, and I guess I don't really blame him. Being in Milwaukee, that's another kind of Cleveland type place. Like, not many players are going to choose to play there.
Yeah, but he chose it. Like, that's on him.
He chose it, but it's like, I don't know. You got to get that money.
I don't know. Not from Milwaukee.
Not from Milwaukee. Yeah. That'd be a tough sell. All right, so you're saying Embiid in Milwaukee. I would say that too. And I think I said that in the first podcast. I've just been preaching this since the very beginning. Problem is, none of these guys are really going to be able to space the floor so far because the big three that we're talking about, or that I'd be talking about, is Giannis, John Henson, and Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has nice touch. The other two have nice form on their jumpers, but we're not seeing it right now. So if that doesn't develop, that could be a problem. And if it does develop, then they could be really special. I think you put Brandon Knight as a backup, and he could be deadly too. And then ship O.J. Mayo out, and then the spare big. All right, so I guess we kind of agree on Embiid. Bucks would be a good spot for him. Is that right?
Yep.
All right, what are you thinking about for Wiggins?
Oh, that's a tough.
Actually, let's say Jabari second because he's the likely number 2 pick. So let's kind of go chronologically here. What are you thinking for Jabari?
Jabari with the Sixers trading Turner, I think he'd be a perfect fit. With Noel and Michael Carter Williams, I think next year that's a strong 2-man, assuming Noel is back healthy. Hopefully he is. And then you throw in Parker, he could carry the load scoring, and then you have Noel who could be the defensive anchor. Michael Carter Williams is showing that he could be a potential and elite point guard in this league. I think that's a nice trio to start a franchise.
Do you think he could be an elite point guard?
I think so. He has to work on his shot.
What? Okay, let's define elite. How elite? I mean, like a top 10 point guard or a top 5 point guard?
Top 10.
Top 10 point guard. Okay, I could buy that.
5 to 8-ish range. If you want to get really approximate.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense. I'm not so big a fan of the Nerlens Noel spot there. I actually think that Michael Carter Williams and Jabari Parker would probably work out well together, but they don't have anyone to score on the block. And Nerlens Noel, I think he could be. He has great defensive skills. He would have broken Anthony Davis's record for blocks had he been able to stay healthy. There is that injury concern, but just setting that aside, he has a small frame. He's never going to be a scorer. Maybe like a Tyson Chandler type, like a rich man's Tyson Chandler type. But I think he's going to take some time to develop. He's really raw. He came out of college really raw. And putting more young players around, I think Jabari's kind of a player you could plug in anywhere because he can score. He doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses in his offensive game other than maybe some inconsistency. but I don't think that that's the ideal landing spot for him.
Where do you have him going?
I think he could be good in Utah.
Mormon connection.
More for the marketing than anything, but I think probably his perfect landing spot, in my opinion, would be Orlando. I think Orlando would be perfect for him. I think Orlando would be great because you have Oladipo, who seems to be. He may not turn out to be the best player in this year's draft. That could easily be Michael Carter-Williams or even Trey Burke. But if anyone's going to be a max contract caliber player, I think that he's the only guy with a shot at that. And he has the potential to be a lockdown defender. Super athletic, has a lot of swagger to his game, which that can be kind of underrated sometimes. Plays with a lot of confidence. And you pair him up with Jabari, who can score from anywhere, maybe not the 4-point line. So another reason that's a bad idea. But Jabari can put the ball in the basket, whereas maybe Oladipo might have some trouble with his jumper. I think that that's a healthy pair. And Oladipo's unselfish. Jabari isn't particularly selfish relative to how good his scoring is. And then you have Vucevic, whatever it is. Vucevic. He's a great center. And then you put a shot blocker by them. You put a distributor at the 1. I think that could be a championship team in a few years.
See, I have Wiggins going to the Magic. That would be my selection.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a good spot, too. It's just like Wiggins is... I
think Wiggins and Oladipo, they'd be like a defensive beast duo.
Yeah, but what about the floor spacing there? What about the floor spacing?
That would be problematic.
And that's so important in today's NBA. I actually think that Wiggins, he's shown some promise with his 3-point shot, but his release is a little awkward. I don't think that that's as safe a fit as the Utah Jazz, and that's where I would hope that Wiggins would end up. Utah. And I know that sounds, Jabari just kind of makes sense because of the whole Mormon thing, but I feel like you need to give Andrew Wiggins a good point guard if you really want him to be successful. At his best. And Trey Burke has a shot. I might take him over Michael Carter-Williams if we're doing a redraft. Despite how great Michael Carter-Williams has been, I think maybe in 5 years, Trey Burke will be the more well-rounded player. And then you have Derek Favors, who I'm really high on. I'm not sure if other people are.
I'm high on Favors. I'm just not a fan of Corbin as a coach. He needs to go.
He has to go. I'm not even thinking about Corbin right now. How is he stuck with that job for so long? What didn't he start as an interim and then he just like he kept?
Yeah, he replaced Sloan.
It boggles my mind how. Some of the rotations that he'd come out with last year, it was. Anyway. You have those guys, and then that makes Gordon Hayward will probably walk over the summer anyway. Alec Burks.
No, that was Favors that signed.
Yeah, that was Favors who signed. Yeah, Gordon Hayward. I don't think he has too much longer on his contract. I think he's probably gone no matter what. But that's a pretty good team, and then maybe Alec Burks develops into. A better 2. He's still pretty young. Cancer, I think, will probably be a backup big, but he would be a great backup big. And I think that could be a really deadly team.
I think it's too soon to write off Cancer.
Really?
He's still really young.
He's still young. I don't know. You just kind of watch these guys play.
Yeah, I've seen him.
He just doesn't have. I know this is really non-specific, but he just doesn't have the it kind of thing that I like to see. And I know I'm going to get torn apart for saying that because that's like the worst kind of analysis you can hear. But I don't know. I just I don't enjoy watching him play, and he just kind of looks clumsy sometimes.
I think that team just doesn't have a second or a primary go-to guy. I don't think Hayward or Cancer, they're 3 or 4 guys at best.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're asking those people to be the face of the franchise for like at least temporarily. They look awful.
Yeah, and Hayward was looking amazing last year. Hayward was looking like, I mean, one of the top, potentially one of the top small forwards in the league, and then it's like his teammates left, and he's fallen off the face of the earth.
He can't be the guy.
He can't be the guy, but he's a great number 3 or number 4. He's a great number 3 and number 4. He'll probably end up on the Celtics.
You think? Oh, Brad Stevens connection.
Because the old Brad, the Baylor thing, or not the Baylor. Fuck it,
Butler.
The whole Butler thing. That's okay. So I would say the Jazz. You would say Orlando. You kind of went into that a little bit, but maybe expand on that a tiny bit.
Who, Orlando?
Yeah, Orlando. Why do you think Orlando?
I just think defensively they'd have like a great chance to be like something special in the East. Like you see the way Indiana's built around defense. You have Wiggins, you have Oladipo, you have Vucevic. He's not a great defensive big, but he's a rebounding beast.
Vucevic can't defend though.
He can't defend, but he's a good rebounder. You'd have
He's
to
a good rebounder.
You'd have to upgrade at the power forward position. I don't know who you go for, but you have to upgrade that and at point guard. Maybe look to trade a Flalo in the offseason. Or you could keep a Flalo just for like veteran leadership.
I would trade a Flalo. And I would trade a Flalo for it would be a dream for me if Orlando wound up with Jabari and Tyler Ennis or Enid. These names are not. This is not my forte. Because then I think that they would be set at 4 out of 5 positions, and so many teams build through gathering superstar talent. Like you saw the Heat, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Bosh. That's a championship-winning team, regardless of whether the pieces mesh or not. Because like Dwayne Wade and LeBron James are 2 of the top players in the NBA ever, but their games don't quite fit. And so it's really refreshing to see a team built, I say the right way. I don't know if that might sound biased, but it's nice to see pretty basketball with pieces that are meant to go together.
Something we know nothing about in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We had plenty of dark times over in LAC, so I'm with you. All right, so we covered that last week. We introduced a mailbag segment. We're going to do that again. So first question is, do you guys think people are overrating the Bynum signing and Turner trade? Barkley said they are now clear favorites. This was sent in by Braun James, 1230. All right. So not a lot of talk, not a lot of movement at the trade deadline, and we didn't talk about it in the last podcast just because some of the dust was settling, and we didn't quite know where everyone was going to be going. Because a lot of the stories were about players who were going to be waived. But now that that's happened, really the only noteworthy trade to talk about was the Evan Turner for Lavoy Allen and the Danny Granger for Evan Turner and Lavoy Allen trade between the Pacers and the Sixers. So what do you think this will do for the Pacers' shot at a championship?
I mean, obviously it boosted because Danny Granger's been a corpse like for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Turner's not an ideal fit because his shot is just terrible. He's got a mid-range game somewhat, but it's not even that great.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be good at spreading the floor. But athletically, he should be good for them. He could be a good wing defender. He could handle the ball for the second unit. Cause I'm not big on C.J. Watson dribbling the ball.
Yeah, Evan Turner can do a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Evan Turner can do a lot, and one of the things he cannot do is shoot the ball. But other than that, I mean, he's like 6'7", can dribble like a guard, can pass the ball, can rebound, great rebounder, defend. But what will this do for Lance Stevenson's confidence? Like, will this? I mean, because there's been talk about maybe there being a little competition between the two, or do you think there's any chance that Evan Turner and Evan Turner has not been particularly efficient this season, or really any season, but he's been in a terrible situation in Philadelphia. None of those teams really built to maximize his strengths. And I think that Frank Vogel, probably one of the top 3 coaches in the league, along with Larry Bird, who is just like Midas. Anything he touches is just like turns to. I know it's cool. I'm thinking like greatness. I didn't want to make it seem like it was stuck on that. But I think that he could be a threat to Lance Stevenson's starting, perhaps, or maybe. I mean, because Lance Stevenson, a lot of his game is built on confidence, and it might disrupt some of the chemistry. And Danny Granger was, everybody knows he's a great guy. And you think, for a team that's close to a championship, is that going to be a problem?
Like you said, Stevenson, like he plays with a lot of swagger. His confidence is sometimes over the top. Like he thinks he's that damn good. He's pretty good, but sometimes you just see him. He just walks around like he thinks he's elite. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna shake his confidence. What I do think it is, I think it gives him a good plan B. If somebody wants to overpay for Stevenson, you don't have to match it. You can let him go. You can make an offer for Turner. It won't be as much, and he should be able to play the role of Stevenson. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, I don't think that Evan Turner is in any way as talented as Lance Stevenson. I think that Lance probably needed a lot of guidance to get to where. If Lance Stevenson were drafted by the 76ers, the second pick in the draft, he'd be out of the league by now. But he has a lot of talent. And at this point, I would say he's more valuable than a guy like Evan Turner is, or probably ever could be. But you don't know how the chemistry is just disrupted. And Danny Granger really felt slighted because he was there through the rebuilding. He was there when the Pacers were fighting for an 8 seed, and he stayed loyal. And then just as they're about to make a push for a championship, he's out.
He wasn't giving him anything.
He wasn't giving him anything, but it's nice to have that veteran presence. And he's been on the Pacers team for the 3rd longest period of time out of any player to ever play there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a stat I read earlier today. 8.5 years.
They did draft him in 2005.
Yeah. So that's something to think about too. Okay, but aside from the more mental aspect of things, how do you think that Evan Turner will play within the Pacers offense?
I think they have to give him the role of point forward, and I think he'll flourish for the second unit.
Yeah, I think so too.
If you're gonna have him play off the ball, you might as well just kept Granger. They'd shoot the same percentage anyway.
Yeah, really. Okay, all right. Thanks, Bron James. All right, next question. Was Rondo not showing up to that game a big deal? That's sent to us by DV is Mimi, who we also answered a question of yours last week. So good stuff here. All right, so what he's talking about is apparently Rajon Rondo had a birthday a few days ago, and they had an away game at Sacramento, and he decided to not travel with the team and to go to LA instead to celebrate. And so there's been some controversy there. What do you think? What do you have to say?
It's iffy because he wasn't gonna play, but at the same time, it's like, should you go there for moral support or not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think so. I mean, I've played. I've been on teams before. If you're able to go, if you're not in a hospital bed, you have to be there. And he's a captain. I think that's really important, and it says a lot about his leadership. Or maybe not his leadership, but his. He's not the most likable guy. And he hasn't gotten along with a lot of people. And I think that's something that you have to think about if you're thinking about signing him. I mean, because he got into fights with Ray Allen, and these are guys on his own team. Ray Allen, I don't know anyone who doesn't get along with Doc Rivers, but I'm sure that was one of the reasons, that was one of the bigger reasons why he wanted to leave, because they didn't get along. So you have to sort of start to think, like, is this guy, and maybe it's an overreaction to put this all on his not going to this game, but I think that's a pretty bad decision on his part as a leader, as one of the veteran players on the team. And do you start to think of him as a cancerous type guy that you might not want on your team, regardless of how talented he is?
Throw word, the big C word. I wouldn't say cancerous.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's problematic. He's had the off the court issue. Like, was not like serious off the court, but just practice stuff, not getting along with teammates and whatnot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can see that hurting him, but I'm not gonna kill him for missing like one game.
I don't know, if you're getting paid millions of dollars, I don't have much sympathy for you. And hey, again, nobody wants to go to Sacramento for any reason.
L.A. Sacramento.
But yeah,
I ain't mad at you, Rondo.
If you give me Rajon Rondo money, I'll go wherever you want. I'll spend the month in the Ukraine. It doesn't matter. Fly me
Ukraine
wherever.
has good-looking women. I'll go.
Ukraine has good-looking women.
Yeah.
That's not really what's going on right now, though.
But it's true.
But it's true. Yeah, that would be an upside. Okay. I think this is the last question here.
Yep.
Asked by Vega. What do you think are some potential landing spots for Luol Deng this summer? And this is assuming this isn't really even an assumption. He's not going to re-sign with Cleveland. No sane person would. And Luol Deng is a smart guy, a smart player. So, what are you thinking? What are some what comes to your mind?
That's a tough question. Anywhere but Cleveland is obvious.
Well, you don't go to Cleveland. You don't go to Milwaukee.
Because he's somebody who should go to a contending team, but most contending teams won't have money for him. So,
right.
Is he going to take a big pay cut to go to play for a playoff team?
I think he's too good a player for that. He's not sort of on his last legs. He's still one of the top threes in the game. Honestly, I mean, I don't have the money in front of me, so this is sort of a tough question for me to answer off the top of my head. Do you have any idea what some of those look like, or who has money?
I remember reading somewhere where somebody suggested trading him to Detroit, and then you have Dang, Smith, and Drummond.
All right, let's talk trades because that's a little bit easier to conjure up.
Because I think you have to like sign and trade if you wanted to go to a contending team.
Yeah, I mean he would work wonders in Detroit. I think because he can shoot a little bit. You need a lot of that in Detroit, but you trade Monroe for because they're not going to get rid of Josh Smith's contract. I think Josh Smith and Andre Drummond might play together a little bit better than Monroe and Drummond play together anyway.
Monroe's too slow. He's a power forward who moves like slower than
most. Monroe's a little bit slow. Yeah, so I think you stick Monroe on the Cleveland team next to Tristan Thompson. That's a decent big man combo, and then Drummond, Josh Smith, and Luol Deng is looking a lot better for the Pistons.
Definitely much better. Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think like LA is feasible? At least
LA. I don't know why you'd want to go to the Lakers unless he's thinking, because it seems pretty. I mean, this is a long way off, but it seems like Kevin Love is going to be signing with the Lakers when he becomes a free agent, and if he's kind of trying to do the Oracle thing and look into the future, then maybe he'll sign with the Lakers to get. But I can't imagine that he would. Isn't this crazy that in 2007 they were thinking of trading Kobe Bryant to the Chicago Bulls for a package primarily based around Luol Deng, and now this is where we are, where he can't even it's interesting.
How time changes.
Yeah. All right. Anywhere else you're thinking? I'm having trouble coming up with some trades. Where else would he fit?
Would he fit? Charlotte needs a small forward.
I
Michael
wouldn't go to Charlotte.
is not cutting it. I would
never go to. I would.
That's the thing. The teams that have money are the teams nobody wants to go to, or I wouldn't want to go to.
I wouldn't want to go to. I wouldn't want to go to Charlotte because when you pay Big Al that much money, he's going to be your corner piece. I mean, you'll be an 8th seed in the East, which would be like the 11th or 12th seed in the West. That team's not built to contend. They're built to kind of be middle of the run. I think Deng deserves better than that. It'd be nice to see him back on the Bulls. It probably won't happen. But I like how tight knit those guys feel.
The Bulls roster, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's it for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. Take care.